Okay, so it looks like we're off to a good start. 2018 Dodge Durango 3.6. Only has 71 codes. We actually got called into the body shop. This car is actually one that I looked at yesterday, and they already got the new part in today. I'll pull it up so you guys can see it. Now, first things first, on a 2018, when you're using Chrysler, the one thing it's going to do is actually require you to log in online. This car has a secure gateway module, so you cannot get any further unless you actually log in to your Tech Authority account. I'm going to come in here, and now that it's okayed me to come in and actually look to see what's here, if you look down there at the bottom, that SGW is what I was looking for. That's my secure gateway. If you hover over it, it's supposed to tell you that, but it doesn't. But anyhow, so this is your secure gateway. If you look at the topology here, if you guys notice how that actually is set up, your data link connector strictly goes to the SGW. Your SGW then will sit there and communicate with everybody else and then let you know what's going on. Similar to a TIPM, except that this one right here requires authorization before you can go any further. So, as you can see, everything in this car has codes. A lot of them are going to be stored. And if you guys want to see what they actually were, you can see them after the fact. The ones that I care about are the ones that are active. So what I can do up here is in this status all, I'm going to change that over to our active, and we're going to have system voltage high, circuit above threshold, battery state of charge performance, all that good nonsense. That sounds great. The one thing I care about here is the part that was actually replaced, and in this case they had replaced the steering column control module. And the steering column control module, when it's replaced, should, but does not, set a code. See how it says stored? Well, if you look on the dash, you see the little squiggly lines there, our car that's out of control. Well, that traction light that's on there is an indicator saying, hey, you know, we still have a problem here. So it has not been set up yet. But because we've added a module to this car, the very first thing that you want to do, and you always start off this way, is you want to make sure that your proxy alignment is going to be okay. So if I can find it in here, if we go to restore vehicle configuration, I'm going to turn the key off and just turn the key back on again. Alright, keys back on. Some of these will actually tell you that. If you replace the BCM or RFH, you may not be able to change the ignition status. In this case, proceed with the procedure regardless. Okay, nice to know. But what that's going to do is it's going to insert the VIN number into that module. It's in the service information. If you look it up on the service information, it'll tell you to do this. But what they don't tell you is in any code or anything else like that to say, hey, you should perform this procedure. So it's important to know your service information. Obviously I read it yesterday before I did this. And here's some information here. It'll tell you what you have here. Hardtop stealth usage. Don't ask me what that is. ESP switch usage. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and change this. Write the vehicle configuration data. It'll take a few seconds. It'll reset the BCM. So I called this a proxy alignment. I really should not have, but we're going to turn this off. Remember, it says other ECUs can be affected on the next ignition cycle. So turn that key off and wait a moment before you do anything at all. Give it about 10 seconds and then cycle back on. If you notice that little off light went off there just for a quick moment. So now that that part of it is done, I'll come back in here. And oh yeah, I can't navigate away. I have to hit the close button down here first. And we come back into our topology, all DTCs, and we are going to clear the DTCs that are stored in there. And then after that, we're going to double check. Now some of these, the Fiat inspired Jeeps will have in here under configuration, some of them will list it as like a Jeep Compass, things like that. The Renegade, those are those will show BCM proxy alignment. These are just going to show what the vehicle is configured for, and if you had a question about whether or not something was there, you could always scroll back through and make sure it's actually there. But since we're actually done with that part and it's not setting any code there, we are going to go into the steering column control module, and we are going to go into miscellaneous functions and see if there's anything there for steering angle alignment, and there is not. There is no updated flash. There is nothing there. Now if we double check ABS, miscellaneous functions, ABS bleeds, ABS initialization, and brake pedal calibration. Take note, ABS initialization. So let me start this vehicle up. Let's see if we get lucky or if we're not so lucky. And you want to turn that wheel all the way to the left first and hold it there for a second at the maximum stop. Put a little pressure on it. Turn it all the way back to the right. Do the exact same thing. Hold it on there for a moment and then come back around till you're at center. When you're at center, if it goes to center, there we are. You'll notice our little light came back on. So when our light came on, what code did we set here? All right, steering wheel position sensor signal amplitude is at maximum. Okay, implausible data received from the steering column module. So let's go back to our steering column module. Oops, let me get this back. Come on, go. Let me move this back over here where we can access it a little bit better. Okay, let's go back out of this, go back into our topology, and see if steering column control module flagged the code, which it did. And it says, over travel performance wrong mounting position. I believe that. Now they installed a clock spring in this just yesterday, but when they installed it, was it installed properly? Let's see where our steering angle is. Delta steering wheel angle is 0.0 degrees. But look at our steering angle here. 360 degrees out. Well, in which direction? Turn the wheel one way, we'll go clockwise, it goes up higher. If we go counterclockwise, and I bring it to here, which now the wheels are actually turned to the left outside, it shows 0 degrees. So what these guys have to do now is there are two options. One is that they're going to have to either unbolt from the rack, which in this case here I think is going to be the easiest choice, and get that wheel straightened back out so that way we can have it set at 0. Now, pulling out the steering angle sensor may or may not be the case, may or may not be the answer here. It's a lot more work. It's actually easier to lift it up off the rack and then realign it there. As long as you're going 360, obviously you're not going to interfere with your alignment, and I'd actually think that this car still has to go for alignment because I still see body work getting done to it, so I don't think they're quite done with it yet. But after that's said and done, you notice that there was no calibrations in there, nothing else that you had to do. It simply means once this thing is put back in position and you do that exact same thing there where you turn all the way left, turn all the way right, turn back to center, if that little light doesn't come back on, that means you're back in a 0 position. Luckily they're not too far out there. If this thing was, you know, at like a 720 out, we would have an issue here because they would pop the clock spring and then obviously airbag lights on and everything else. But I just figured I'd bring that to your attention, something to see there. And also just wanted to make mention of the fact that, you know, these guys are out there buying snap-on scanners, all this good stuff and everything. Well, with that secure gateway module, they're not accessing this vehicle. It will prevent you from getting in. You can get in there and get some information. You will not get all information. So codes that would pop up, codes like this, that would be, you know, helpful to you in order to make your diagnosis, may or may not even be accessible to you. So this is the new age. This is what we're dealing with. All right, hopefully you guys get something out of this, and I'll have these guys fix that up. They'll get that out there and realigned properly, and this car will be back out on the road again. Have a good one.